Hello again, everyone. Mr. Reeves with you yet one more time. Today, talking about negative and zero exponents. And so I'm going to go ahead and just pick a base. My favorite base to work with is probably 2. All right, and so let's just take a look at powers of 2. And we're going to start with positive exponents, and then we're going to work our way backwards to an exponent of 0 and then negative exponents as well. And hopefully by the end of this video, you will have a good understanding of what negative and 0 exponents mean and how to evaluate expressions with negative and 0 exponents. All right. So let's talk about these powers right here. So 2 to the first power, most of you are familiar with the fact that means you have 1 2 that is being multiplied by, it's actually being multiplied by 1, but we usually just write 2, all right? 2 squared would be 2 times 2, right? Which would be 4. So I'm just going to put 2 here. All right, 2 to the third. I'm going to quickly run out of space, aren't I? 2 to the third is going to be 2 times 2 times 2, which is going to be 8. 2 to the fourth, we're going to throw another 2 on there, which is going to be 16. And finally, 2 to the fifth would be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is going to be 32, right? And hopefully you can see each time we increase the exponent by a positive 1, we increase our answer by a factor of 2 because we are multiplying by 1 more 2 each time, right? 1 2, 2 2s, 3 2s, 4 2s, 5 2s. The next one would be 6 2s, right? So if I was going to do the next one, right, we would know that the answer would be 64, right? Let me do that in the correct color. It would be 64. So we know that 2 to the 6th power is 64. Well, what if I were going the other direction instead? What if we were traveling to the left instead of to the right? Then what would we get? Well, we would be dividing by 2, would we not? 64 divided by 2 is 32. 32 divided by 2 is 16, and so on, right? Or another way to look at that is instead of dividing by 2, we could say we were multiplying by 1/2, right? Half of 64 is 32. Half of 32 is 16, right? Half of 16 is 8. Half of 4 is 2. So whether you want to think of it as dividing by 2 or multiplying by a half, you can see that as we move to the left, we are decreasing, right, by the same factor as we were increasing. So now let me go back up here, and we had 2 to the 0, so then I'm going to write 2. I'm sorry, we had 2 to the first, so I'm going to write 2 to the 0. I'm going to spread these ones out a little more. 2 to the negative first, 2 to the negative second, 2 to the negative third, 2 to the negative fourth, 2 to the negative fifth, and why not? We'll put 2 to the negative sixth way over here. Okay, so what are we going to have to do to get these answers? Well, we're just going to continue the pattern, right? We know that to get the next answer, we need to divide by 2 or multiply by 1/2, right? So what is 2 divided by 2? Or what is 2 times a half? It is 1. Many times when I ask students, what do you think anything to the 0 power is? They always want to say 0 because you have none of them. That's what you would think, right? But you actually get 1. And what if we do it again? What if we do it again? What is 1 divided by 2? Or what is 1 times a half? Well, it's 1/2, right? So this is 1 divided by 2, right? And then this next one would be 1/2 divided by 2. Or preferably, again, this is where I really like to write it as multiplying by a half, right? So this would be 1 times 1/2, which is a half. This would be a half of a half, which is a fourth. This would be a half of a half of a half, which is 1/8, right? This would be a half. I'm going to start using dots like I should have anyway. A half times a half times a half times a half. Whoops, I skipped one. What is that? That's supposed to be a 4, Mr. Reeves. All right, which would be 1/16, right? And then this one, can you see what's going to happen? This is going to be 1/32. This is going to be 1/64. So I hope you can see what's going on here, right? Over here, 2 to the first was 2. 2 to the negative first is 1/2, right? 2 to the second is 4. 2 to the negative second is 1/4. 2 to the third is 8. 2 to the negative third is 1/8. 2 to the fourth is 16. 2 to the negative fourth is 1/16. And then right in the middle, this guy doesn't have a pair. He doesn't have a match, does he? All right, what we get is that 0 power is 1 because it's always going to be the base divided by itself. Let me say that again. Anything to the 0 power is always going to be the base divided by itself. So you're going to get 1 unless that base happens to be 0, in which case we are going to run into problems because you can't divide 0 by 0, can you? All right, so do you see how that works? I hope you see how that works, okay? So multiplying by a positive, raising a base to a positive power is like repeatedly multiplying by that base. Raising a base to a negative power is like repeatedly dividing by that base, right? Or multiplying by 1 over that base. Again, that's the way I really like to think of it, okay? Since our base is 2, it's times a half, right? Times a half each time. All right, and that way it makes it come out nicer, okay? All right, so I hope this helps you understand how negative and 0 exponents work. Again, I happen to use the base of 2. It really wouldn't matter what base. If it were a base of 5, we'd be repeatedly multiplying by 5, and then we would be repeatedly multiplying by 1/5 as we went that way. If it were a base of 10, we'd be multiplying by 10 as we went that way, and multiplying by 1/10. And again, anything except 0 to the 0 power is 1. Let me just go ahead and write this out. 0 to the 0 power is undefined. And here's why. Again, when you raise something to a 0 power, let me try to write that just a little bit neater. I don't know that this is really any neater. All right? When you raise to a 0 power, it's dividing by itself, right? But 0 divided by 0 is undefined. So 0 to the 0 power is undefined. But anything else to the 0 power is 1. All right? All right, that's all I have for this video. I'm going to be making another video where I work through some examples for you. I hope this helps you understand how negative and 0 exponents work. Have a great day, everybody. See you next time. Bye.